It's November 1st, 2008. We're in Lubbock, Texas. The number 1 Texas Longhorns are trying to hold off the BCS's number 7 Texas Tech Red Raiders. Clinging to a 1-point lead with 8 seconds left, if UT's defense can make one last stand, their title shot is nearly guaranteed. Tech, on the other hand, has the chance to not only upset a rival, but throw themselves into the national championship conversation at the same time. Both teams stand at 8-0. Obviously, one team won't remain perfect. And there's enough on the line that what comes next is guaranteed to overshadow how we got here. Where did this Tech team come from? How did Texas become the best in the nation? And this guy? What's up with this guy? How we got here makes what comes next all the more special. So let's rewind. This episode of Rewinder is presented by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Push button, get mortgage. Entering tonight, the head-to-head record between these schools is nowhere near as close as the score right here. But for their 48th meeting, Tech is fielding a team that's arguably the best in school history. And their ascent happened far from overnight. After years spent hovering mostly around 500 under Spike Dykes, Mike Leach took over as head coach in 2000. Under Leach, the offense took off, and that is absolutely an air raid pun. They scored relentlessly, finishing outside the top 8 in scoring just once from 02 to 07. Red Raider quarterbacks flourished in the system. Cliff Kingsbury set the NCAA record for completions in a career. His successor, BJ Simmons, threw for the most passing yards in a single college season. If you were a signal caller in Lubbock, there was a decent chance you'd end up leading the NCAA in yardage. But once Graham Harrell took over, he raised the bar, then proceeded to launch the bar off a cliff. Harrell was prolific under Leach, putting together a 2007 season where just twice he finished a game under 400 yards passing. That included nearly 650 yards against Oklahoma State and a 465 touchdown performance at Texas. The trouble was neither of those ended with a win for Tech. And against Texas specifically, even with Leach's offensive guidance, wins remained hard to come by. It has happened only once since 2000, when Kingsbury knocked off 4th-ranked Texas, dousing their national championship hopes. Other than that, the Longhorns have remained a thorn in Tech's side. They prevented upsets by the Red Raiders in 2003 and 06, but the most punishing loss came in 2005. Tech had entered the AP's top 10 for the first time since 1977, winning 6 straight to start the season. That quickly came to an end thanks to Vince Young, who led the 2nd-ranked Longhorns on a demolition of Tech. Harrell watched from the sideline that day as a freshman, but in 2008 has the chance to not let anyone spoil their perfect season. He's continued his dominance through the air, entering the in-state showdown, putting up nearly 400 yards per contest. Tech is coming off an impressive win over a Kansas team slowly returning to unranked status. And on the back of their offense putting up 48 points per game, they found themselves at 6 in the nation with a chance to make a statement. Not only are they hosting Texas, but College Game Day came to Lubbock for the very first time. So it would be a real shame if somebody had their heart broken or title hopes dashed in front of a big old national audience. Despite the season they've had and the edge from the home crowd, tonight's a major challenge for Tech. Even without my bias, this Texas team is very, very good. Tonight marks the end to a murderer's row of Big 12 games for the Longhorns. It started against then number 1 Oklahoma, who Texas knocked off and took over as top team in the nation. They then comfortably beat number 11 Mizzou, and with a little less comfort, got past 7th-ranked Oklahoma State. Texas was back to looking like the team that had knocked off USC 3 years earlier, doing it with a new quarterback making his case for the Heisman. Colt McCoy took the reins from Vince Young after redshirting during their 2005 national championship season. He led Texas to back-to-back 10-win seasons, but had gotten just a little help from Jamal Charles. With the running back now getting paid in the pros, McCoy was left with a little more of the offense on his shoulders. He entered 2008 as the Longhorns' leading returning rusher, and despite an impressive fleet around him of Vondrell McGee, Cody Johnson, Chris Ogbonnaya, Fozzie Whitaker, McCoy remained Texas's top ground option in 4 of their first 8 games. On top of the running, he was completing over 80% of his passes while scoring often and protecting the ball. He was playing well enough that it wasn't just Texas X's singing his praise. As his name took over the Heisman watch list, the defense shined with talent at every level. Brian Arakpo and Sergio Kindle harassed quarterbacks, which made it easier on freshman starting safeties Earl Thomas and Blake Gideon to help limit the opposition to just 18 points per game in 2008. Paired with the offense's ability to light up the scoreboard, it looked like after Tech, the Horns could coast. A win tonight, and they're back to the national championship. End it here, and they're good. I'd actually kind of prefer that. Is that okay if we just...
Finish the script, Will.
Okay, cool. Hook 'em. While Texas has the lead right here with 8 seconds left, it has taken a lot to get that 1-point advantage. From the start, the Horns weren't locked in. On their very first offensive snap of the game, Ogbenaya was tackled in the end zone for a safety. They picked up 1 first down in the first quarter, and that had to come on a 4th down attempt from their own 41. The usual sure hands of Jordan Shipley and Quan Cosby were letting down McCoy, and while Texas couldn't get out of their own way, Tech rattled off the first 19 points of the game, which included 2 field goals from Matt Williams, a name I only mentioned because he hadn't attempted a collegiate field goal until tonight, and got called on for the job after kicking a 30-yard field goal during a halftime promotion earlier in the season. Originally, the prize was just a free year of rent at the beautiful Lindwood Apartments in Lubbock, but Leach pulled him out of the stands, and against Kansas, Williams went 9 for 9 on extra points. Tonight, in the first half, he was outscoring Texas on his own. Tech's offense as a whole put on a clinic, with Harold doing what he's done all season, while the ground game has gashed Texas, forcing their defenders to not sell out in either direction. But the Horns hit a pair of field goals before halftime, then whatever Mac Brown or this guy had to say in the locker room led them to look a little more like their ranking in the second half. After forcing Tech to a 3-and-out, Shipley, in place of an injured Cosby, gave Texas a much-needed spark. The offense, though, was still hot and cold. McCoy continued to, at times, not look like himself.
Steps up, intercepted, picked off by Charbonnet. And Charbonnet scores!
And other times, looked like a Heisman-worthy quarterback.
Complete. And running for the end zone is Williams. Touchdown, Texas!
Special teams once again helped Texas out, this time blocking a Williams kick. And despite being backed up, it took the offense just 1 play to strike as McCoy connected with Malcolm Williams for his 2nd touchdown on the night. Once Tech could only respond with a field goal, Texas took the opportunity to bleed some clock as they drove down the field and capped it off on the ground with McGee. For Tech, it looked like 2006 all over again, when they saw a 21-0 lead fade away as the Longhorns pulled off the comeback. Tonight, they're down to their last 8 seconds. At the 28 with 1 timeout left, everything is on the table for Tech. But this is a Mike Leach team. Do you really think that they're going to just play for a field goal? No. In part because you could argue that right here, this is Leach playing it safe. Going 4 wide, regardless of how Texas counters, he has a matchup that he'd be comfortable taking every snap. That's because Michael Crabtree is simply absurd. Over the last 14 months, he has cemented himself as the best receiver in college football. It's a feat made more remarkable by the fact he wasn't super recruited as a high schooler. At least, not as a wideout. He played quarterback and corner at Carter High School in Dallas. But where he earned early superstar status was in basketball. The first contact he had from Texas Tech was actually from Bob Knight and his son Pat, trying to get him to Lubbock to play hoops. Crabtree obviously opted for football and got a handful of offers to play quarterback. He was even recruited by Mac Brown, but the Longhorns wanted Crabtree on defense. And in his words, I told them I want to score touchdowns. After a redshirt freshman year, he did just that. Crabtree was a dream for Harrell in Leach's offense. It took him just 6 games to go over 1,000 yards, catching 70 passes, 17 of which for a touchdown. Against Texas, Crabtree made Mac Brown really wish he was playing defense for the Horns, as he repeatedly torched their secondary. By season's end, no one came close to threatening him for the Biletnikoff. How do you follow that up in your second year? Well, Crabtree scored in each of Tech's first 8 games leading up to the matchup with Texas. His year and a half of domination also allowed Tech's offense to balance out, putting them on pace to average over 100 yards rushing per game for the first time since 2005. And tonight, they've used it all to threaten the top team in the nation. But like too many times before, Tech still hasn't put it away. Crabtree has a chance to change that. Opposite the receiver is Curtis Brown, a sophomore corner who was forced into a starting role after an injury to Shockey Brown 2 weeks earlier. Tonight he's held up well, mostly shadowing Crabtree in the second half and keeping him without a catch for the last 18 minutes. Plus, the corner likely doesn't have to do it all on his own, as he has a safety blanket in Earl Thomas over the top. Defending Crabtree is a tough ask for a young secondary, but so far tonight they've held him under 100 yards and out of the end zone. And while that's impressive, just one snap ago it should have been game over thanks to Texas's young DBs. Still at the 28, Tech had first down and a clock ticking under 20 seconds. Harrell had to escape the pocket, doing so with nearly disastrous effect. Gideon, the true freshman safety, let the ball slip right through his arms. On a night where Texas never seemed completely locked in, it was one more miscue, just with terrible timing. And with that, we're here. 8 seconds left, a 1-point lead for Texas. A Tech team looking to shake up not only the Big 12, but the BCS as a whole. They have a shot at doing something they've only done once under Leach, and by beating the Longhorns would likely vault into championship contention. For Texas, it's already been the worst night of an impressive season. But if they manage to hang on, Brown will likely have this team title-bound and keep McCoy as the Heisman frontrunner. Given Harrell and Crabtree's connection, though, anything can happen. Welcome to a moment in history.
Second down now. Deep strike. Got the big man. Crabtree pulls free. And touchdown. Red Raiders with a second to go.
Hey, thanks for watching. Subscribe to SB Nation, and if you've got 8 minutes, check out this episode of Rewinder about Tua's overtime magic in the national championship.